Hello and welcome to the Inside Stylist podcast. I'm Emma Morton-Turner and you're listening to episode 23, 11 things to know before going to your very first press launch. I've been getting quite a lot of emails recently from people asking me lots of different questions about different areas of being an interior stylist and working on magazines, working on commercial shoots. But the question I've had the most recently is about going to press launches for the first time. Assistants aren't quite sure what the right protocol is. It's quite nerve-wracking the first time you go. So I thought I would do a podcast, which is actually a blog post I wrote last year. So I'm using the pointers from that to explain the best way to approach a press launch. So I'm going to tell you the story of the very first press launch I went to on my own. I was about 27, so that was a long time ago, and I was doing work experience at Living, etc. And none of the team could actually get to this launch. It was for Oxo Good Grips, who were quite new at the time, and they really wanted to have a presence there, so they asked me to go along. Secretly, I think I was just being quite annoying because they didn't have a lot for me to do, so they wanted to just get me out of the office, give me something to do to get out from under their feet. So I went along. It was at the Design Museum back when it was at Shad Thames, and it was Oxo Good Grips kitchen items. And I was petrified. I'd been to launches with other stylists, so I knew what I had to do, but I was still really nervous. I kind of felt like a little bit of an imposter. I was doing work experience, and I still didn't feel like I was legitimately allowed to be there because I didn't have a job on a magazine. I wasn't really going to be able to feature anything specifically as you would if you were a stylist or a writer. And it was just quite a scary thing. I must say, the PRs from Good Grips were absolutely fantastic. I explained. Honesty is the best policy. I told them I was doing work experience at Living, etc. They'd asked me to come along so I could feed back all the information to them, which is probably why they were quite happy to show me around. Living, etc. had only been going for about a year or two then. But they were really lovely. Someone came up to me when I was on my own and said, would you like me to show you round? I told her what I was doing. I was work experience at Living, etc. And I needed to just take the information back to the team because they couldn't get out of the office at the time. And they were really lovely. And they just showed me around. They talked me through all the products. Now, I did product design and engineering at uni. So I'm really into the whole ergonomic thing. And that is what Oxo Good Grips is all about. It's all about making everyday items really easy to handle. So I was actually fascinated by this launch. I was obviously quite enthusiastic when she was telling me this. Never one to shy away from a conversation, even when I'm a bit nervous. But the lady was very nice. She showed me everything. I did all the right, nice, all the ums and ahs and cooed over things at the right moment. And then when it was time to go, I got handed a goodie bag. And I was so excited. I still get excited being given a goodie bag, but at the time I was given a CD-ROM of all the images, the press release, and I was given a set of corn holders. You know, the little things you stick into the end of a corn on the cob? I used those things yesterday. They are brilliant. So I love a practical gift. So anyway, that was my first experience going to a press show on my own. So the things that I think, I've kind of come up with 11 things that I think would be really good to know before you go to your first press show. Number one is to start right. It's essential to send an RSVP and let the company know that you're going to turn up. Now, however you've seen the invite, if they will ask for you to sign in when you go in, it's just good manners. And if your name's on the door, it makes signing in so much easier. Also, the PRs will know that you haven't just walked in off the street, you've seen a Christmas tree outside and you're just trying to walk in. They're not going to know everyone, especially at the moment with the way launches run when you have influencers and stylists and writers coming all at the same time. The PRs are very unlikely to know everybody. So it's kind of good to have your name down and you'll feel official. It'll make you walking in feel a lot easier. Number two, it's good to know that for press launches, it's all about numbers. They want to get people through the door. They want to get seen by as many people as possible who can feature them in their magazines and their newspapers, who will talk about them on their blogs and their Instagram feeds and their Facebook pages. So it's getting people through the door. So they do want you to be there. Even if you go and you feel a little imposter syndrome coming on, they do want you there. So just keep remembering that. And as long as you've RSVP'd, you have every right to be there, even if you don't feel like you are. Number three, check the times. Many press launches start very early and finish very late because you have to think that they want people to come and they will open up the doors for as long as possible so people can come in before they go into the office, at the end of the day after they've been in the office, or if you're a blogger and you come in after you've done your 9 to 5 job, they want to keep the doors open and get people in as much as possible. But not everyone does that. And every now and again you'll get a launch that's on, like I went to a Christmas launch a little while ago, and they had hired a room in a hotel, but they only had it till like 12 o'clock. So the launch was only on till 11, so they could pack down. And if I hadn't double checked that, I didn't double check that, I would have gone there and it would have been closed. So I'd have wasted a whole journey in 32-degree heat London. Yeah, read between the line there, people. So it's really important to double check the times of the launches, but especially at Christmas. Lots and lots of bigger brands will have 2-day launches, and they will only have half a day on the second day because they need to pack down and empty, so they don't have to, they won't get charged for a second day's hire for the location. So it'll be full day on the first day, half day on the second day. So double check the times. Number 4, it's a name game. It's a really good idea to make a note of the PR agency who are running the launch and the person who you've RSVP'd to. Now, the chances of bumping into that person are quite small, but it's always good to get into the habit of knowing the names of the people who are at the launch. It's a good idea to know who you're dealing with. I'm really rubbish at remembering names. In fact, I could never do a PR's job because I recognise people, but I can't remember their names ever. So I make a point, every time I put an event in my calendar, I'll put so say it's Debenhams. I'll say Debenhams, 8:30 till 9, and then I'll put the name of the person in the title, and then obviously all the details of where it is. But I'll always put the names in there so I remember who it is. So it's the agency, the PR person, the time. Because then if I'm en route and I'm walking around and I've got City Mapper telling me how to get there, I can very quickly just look at my phone and go, oh yeah, it's Sally. We're going to go and see Sally today. And then you know exactly who you're going to be dealing with. It just makes things much easier. I'm sure other people remember names. It's just, for me, mind goes blank. Number 5, when you first arrive at a launch, you're going to be asked if you would sign in. And this is, well, in theory, this is so that the company who you're going to view knows who's attended the event. And quite often, what I think is supposed to happen, but I don't know if it really does happen, is that they then have a list of people to invite to the next launch. Now, this doesn't seem to be happening at the moment. People aren't getting added to lists if they have been to an event. But it's really important to put your name down and your email address if that's what's asked for. The other thing that you'll be asked for when you sign your name is where you work. And if you aren't assigned to a newspaper or a magazine, it's always good to just put freelance, or if you have a blog, you can put the name of your blog. They just want to know where they're likely to be able to be featured by you coming in. So just make sure you sign something. It's fine to say you're an assistant, but I think you're a freelancer, so it's probably best to say freelance. It sounds much more professional. Number 6, tour guide Barbie. When you go in and you've signed in, if a PR comes up and says, would you like to be shown around? Always say yes. It's not only a great way to find what the products are and what they might point out something that you might have missed quite easily and they think it's a big trend coming up for the next season, but it also means that you've made a connection with that PR and you can chat to them. And that old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know, has never been truer. Introduce yourself, chat, be friendly, get to know them, because then when you go back and email for them for something later on, they'll remember you. Number 7. If this is your first time meeting a brand, make sure you familiarise yourself with them. It's really good to know what's going on their Instagram or what's going on their website. That way, when you talk to the PR, you'll sound legit and you'll sound like you know what you're talking about within the interiors industry. It's really good to just be someone who's there for the products and for the knowledge, not just for the goodie bag. Number 8, grubs up. Now, there's probably going to be food and drink at an event. There's canapes. There will quite often be Prosecco or tea or juice. It's always a good idea to think about your surroundings. Now, I'm not saying this will happen to you, but I have experienced it. In fact, I experienced this in my second job where I took a muffin. And a muffin, it was a big one. It wasn't even like a little canapé size one. And I took a bite and crumbs went on the floor. I'm wondering if Charlotte Boyd remembers this. Charlotte Boyd and I were walking around an event and the crumbs were dropping everywhere. And I just thought, I am being really embarrassing here. This is not something I can eat. It was difficult to talk to anybody because I had this great big muffin. Awful. So now I make sure I have 2 hands free. If I want to drink, I'll go and drink, but I'll stand still till it's gone and then I will just leave it. If I want something to eat, again, I will stop, I will eat it, and then it will be gone. Now, the reason for this is, especially now, you want to take pictures with your phone. You need 2 hands for that. You need to be able to push 2 buttons. It's just not a good idea to walk around with food. I do sound like a mother saying this, but just trust me, it's so much easier when you don't have to worry about ruining anything of one-off products that are just sitting around. You want to drink? Chase the waiters afterwards. Do it later on. Also, it's really hard to talk to people when you're eating. If a PR is showing you around and you're stuffing your face and then they ask you a question, you can't. It stops the conversation. So I'm just going to say wait till the end or go stand and eat somewhere else. I love it when launches like John Lewis Christmas launch, they had like a little section where they had lunch and you could just go and stand over by the food and it was delicious and you didn't have to move and you got given a plate. There was no walking around with the coral Christmas tree to drop crumbs anywhere. So anyway, I'm banged on about this long enough. I'm moving on to the next one. Number 9, hashtag the arse out of an event. When you get to the event, there will be a hashtag. It's probably going to be the brand's account or it might be their special hashtag for that season. But the brand want you to share that. They want you to share everything. They want as much coverage as possible. So if you want to get in with the brands and the PRs and you want to be seen and you want to get noticed, use them. Especially if you've got a large social media following. If you don't want to if your grid is very specific colour-wise or the way it looks, and you don't want to mess it up with this, but you still want to have a good contact, it's a great idea to just put those on stories. You don't have to put it on your grid. You can still just bash it out. You can have probably not hundreds. You can have loads of stories sharing all the things that you found. And the chances are your interiors followers are going to want to see what you're showing. They want to know what's coming. They want to know the trends ahead of the game. And let's face it, if you're taking pictures and trying to do hashtags on your stories, this is another reason not to have food and drink in your hand. Just saying. Number 10, bags of fun. Always be gracious. When you receive a goodie bag, resist the temptation to look inside until you are well out of sight of the venue. I have been doing this job for something like 18 years. I still get given a bag and go, oh, thank you. Like it's a surprise. I think it's a default, but I'm always grateful for the stuff they give me, always. And I want the PR to feel that I'm grateful. So also, if you're not given one, there's ways of asking. Usually if you want a goodie bag but you haven't been offered one, you could say, oh, have you got a lookbook? That usually does the trick. And you can ask for one outright. I've never done that. I feel very conscious of asking for one outright. I would rather walk away. But I need the lookbook. I don't need the gift, but I need the lookbook. Otherwise, I've got nothing for reference. Usually you'll get well, actually now most things are online, but you quite often will get a USB stick. So you can always ask for a USB stick or a lookbook, and then someone will go, oh yes, here, have the bag, which is very nice. Number 11, last one. It's very easy to feel quite small and unimportant when you get to an event. And I mean that in the sense that, last night I went to an event and I didn't know anybody there. I still to this day do not know why I got invited. It was a proper influencer event and I'm not really an influencer. It was beauty for one, but it was kind of beauty and Etsy. So I kind of thought, okay, well, I'll go and see what it's all about. I like a bit of beauty. But I walked into the room and I didn't know anyone. And if I was just starting out, I would have found it quite intimidating and I wouldn't really have known quite what to do. But I remember that feeling of, why am I here? I felt that last night, but I didn't feel intimidated with it. I just thought, why the hell have I been invited? But that feeling of, I don't think I should be here. I don't know anyone here. What am I supposed to do? And I want to say that when you first start out, you are important. Everybody's important. Everybody is going somewhere. And when I think of I'm probably broken record here, I'm saying it, I've said it a few times on the podcast before, but the people who have assisted me can now hire me. People starting in at the bottom who have their own vision and their own style and their own goals and dreams and the where you're going, you know where you're going. One day you will be using these products and you will be the person that the PRs want to contact. So you are supposed to be at these launches. If they have invited you and you have RSVP'd, you are supposed to be there. So just remember that. I think, and I think the PRs know, that the assistants of today are the rising stars of the interiors world tomorrow. So they want to get to know you. That's all I've got to say. So it's going to be quite a short one today, mainly because it's 32 degrees. I've had to close all the doors and windows in order to get the sound quality good enough. And I'm schwitzing. I hope I haven't waffled along too much. I hope I've helped people. This was, like I said, a blog post that I wrote last year, which I will link back through to, but I will also put this in the show notes. And you can find those show notes at insidestylists.com/first press launch. So I hope it's been useful. And if you have any other questions and you want me to do more episodes like this, then just let me know. Just drop me a line, emma@insidestylist.com, because I'd love to know what you would like to hear more of. Whether it's assistants asking questions, or if stylists want me to talk about something else, if you'd like any guests on. I've got quite a few people I've got on my wish list at the moment who I shall be contacting soon. But yeah, just let me know. And also, pretty soon I'm going to start asking you to rate and review the podcast, because it can't be found without being rated or reviewed. So if you fancy popping over to iTunes and giving me a little 5-star rating, if you think that's what I'm worth, that would be great. Right, I'm waffling now and I'm getting very hot, so I'm going to go. So until next time, bye for now.